I'm Brenton, and welcome to Brenton's Question of the Week. Questions that collectors think about but don't always ask. Last week's question: what drew you into collecting or collecting again? Now, here are some of the responses from the community. Luke said, growing up with big brothers and hanging out with older kids in the street, I followed what they collected, and we all share comics, cards, and toys. Now, 30 years later, it evolved over time but never gone away. Ed, and Eddie said, for me, as a kid, I had some action figures here and there, but I was mostly a gamer. It wasn't until 2017 I started collecting Funko Pops, and from there I went into action figures and Hot Toys. These days, I find I'm more interested in statues, but it's hard for me to stick to one type of collectible. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only collector that has this problem. Eddie, you're not alone. Niculio said, great job, Brenton. Keep it up. To answer this week's question, my love for collecting began as a toddler with Thomas the Tank Engine train toys, and it was the desire to be able to recreate scenes and scenarios I'd watched on the show which compelled me to seek out and acquire as many different characters as I was allowed. And a similar attitude towards my figure collecting remains today. Vibranium Jim said, started off with action figures, then I saw a prototype of the XM Black Panther. That's how I found Spec Fiction, and then of course Sideshow. So sold all my action figures and just started sticking to statues. I would say the XM Black Panther is what gave me the bug. Steel Hegemon said, I started as a kid, but I was playing with toys, mainly Star Wars, military, animal, and Jurassic Park toys. I went away from those IPs later in life as I never realized something more high quality was out there for them, and in high school I got into the newly launched NECA, Predator, and Alien figures, and with finding reviews of them, I found Hot Toy, Predator, and Alien reviews. I was immediately hooked, and here we are. Dean Goldberry said, growing up in Western Philadelphia in the 80s, I never dreamed of being able to own these high-end collectibles. One day after a scuffle while at the local basketball courts, I would be sent to live with my cousin and his family in California. There he introduced me to collecting. It was there that my circle of trusted faces grew substantially in your show Collecting Weekly. I started with Marvel Legends figures before quickly transitioning to Sideshow premium formats and Prime Ones. Thank you, Brenton, Collecting Weekly, and thanks to my Uncle Philip and Cousin Carlton for getting me into collecting. Well, Dean, that sounds awfully like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to me, but good job on you. Now, thank you for all the great responses. This week, I've been thinking about, is a focus important? And can you focus on only one main character, or do you focus on multiple characters? So this is something that I've struggled with for a long time. In my mind, I try and focus on one character, but it seems like that character tends to change depending on, different moods or how I'm feeling. So it's a real struggle for me because I want to focus on one thing and then just collect as much as possible as that one character. Except my characters tend to change every now and again. But they seem to be within the same circle of characters. So I always circle back to certain characters such as Doctor Strange, Daredevil, Hulk, Venom, some Spider-Man here and there. So for me, I really can't just focus on one character. I think that's becoming my reality, is that I have to accept that, I'm probably going to have multiple characters in my collection. Now, I may have duplicates of some characters, whether it's different statues, maybe different Hot Toys, depending on different movies of that same character. But, I don't think I can focus on one character. And I do think focus is important. There is so much stuff coming out right now that it's impossible to collect it all. If I didn't have at least somewhat of a focus of those multiple characters, I think my head would just be spinning on trying to collect all of this stuff. And it's just not financially possible with the prices these days. So thank you for everyone for watching. Please feel free to answer in the comments and come back next week to hear what other collectors had to say and for another hard-hitting question.